Hello, today I'm here to do something that I don't do nearly enough, talking about the series that are actually coming out right now. So, I've been following the Dandadan for the 5th week now, and I'm happy to say, Netflix has another banger. I don't know how they keep doing it, but it seems like every single series that is like coming out, especially after like Delicious and Dungeon and stuff, they seem to be getting the series that are like sort of breaking boundaries in really, really unique ways, and all of them are actually good. And I'm just sitting here over like, what happened? What happened? I don't know what happened, but they just have good series now. Anyway, Dandadan. Needless to say, I went in expecting something very, very different. When I saw the trailer, I thought it was going to be absurd. I thought it was going to be on the level of JoJo, which is a series I'll be referencing a lot, by the way, just FYI. But I thought it was going to be absurd in the sense that it's going to deal with a bunch of aliens and a bunch of weird like creatures, and there'll be like mysticism, which, you know, it still might well be, but it's very, very different already from what I expected, right? I thought it would be more so like a not quite Monster of the Week type of deal, but something like that, right? Like think Part 3 of JoJo, that kind of vibe, where there is an overarching narrative, but really it's kind of just taking on these different things, right? And that might still totally happen, right? Like we're still... one thing, by the way, this is not a episodic, really, series. They're clearly underlying arcs, right? Like the first one, the first, I think, 3-4 episodes, that was clearly a separate arc, and now this one is a separate arc. So, that is like another thing that has gone completely against what I originally anticipated. But, to return to that JoJo point, this is very, very absurd, but it is absurd in a very, very good way. And, here I think I'll have to reference a number of other series that, unless you've watched them, probably won't make any sense, because these comparisons will be truly wild. What I would describe the Dandadan as right now, and I will elaborate on why I think that, is like a Mob Psycho, JoJo, and Kaguya-sama weird mixture, right? And that mixture has been incredibly compelling to me. Because right now, I think it lands perfectly in the spot that only a couple of series I know have managed to land, where it does lean into that absurdity. Like, this week's episode was literally about a dude losing his balls. Like, what are we even talking about here, right? And it establishes that light-hearted nature to it, even though episode 1 was downright deranged, right, with some of the things there. But even doing those deranged things, because it has established this sort of absurd nature, there is always this sort of surreal juxtaposition between, like right now, this is clearly a romance story, right? Which is another thing I never expected. This is your typical high school romance story where they're wandering around and, oh, where is he? And then they go to each other's spots, you know, it's that kind of deal, right? And that's why I reference Kaguya-sama here, because it really gives me that vibes as well, right? Where both of them sort of want to say, oh, yeah, like we like each other, we're gonna be best buddies, yada yada, but that never happens, right? So one of the appeals here, I think, is going to be this pseudo-romantic, very good friend. I don't know where they're going. I think it's going to be romantic at some point, but I don't know, maybe it's not. There is going to be, I think, like an underlying relationship that actually shapes most of the story, even though I didn't expect it to be, right? And that's where I think the Mob Psycho comparison comes in. Because Mob Psycho was also about sort of not fitting in, not really jiving with anyone around you, and sort of being like the odd one out. And here we have two characters who are the odd ones out. One is obsessed with like weird ghosts, the other is obsessed with aliens, right? And suddenly they found each other, and everything is working out. So on that front, the series is very different, is what I'm saying. But it is very, very entertaining. And the thing that I keep coming back to is that even though a lot of the story is absurd, and it is, like, not serious whatsoever, like this week's episode, for example, I think when you get those moments between the characters, it just hits even harder, right? Like, you completely overlook the fact that this conflict is based around a dude losing his balls. And suddenly, all the touching moments between them, they just hit, and they hit really hard. And I think that is something that must be valued very, very highly, right? And I think outside of JoJo, there are not a lot of series that I've seen who managed to strike that balance well. Unfortunately, I think it's only going to be 12 episodes, which means, like, what? We're already halfway through, and I'm really enjoying this. I don't even have, like, a clear vision where this is going to go in the long run, but I'm here for the ride. This is really, really enjoyable watching it week to week. I would expect binging it might take some of that, like, because right now there is like a almost slice of life vibe, right? And I think binging it might hurt it in the long run. Right now I'm really enjoying it just watching it weekly, right? I'm not gonna wait until all the episodes are out. That's like, I'm fully on board with this, which by the way, Netflix, thank you so much. Please do all of your series weekly. Please stop it with this binge releases. The first arc was closer to what I expected, and then the further we got on, the more I was like, okay, this is going to be a very, very different series, but I'm along for the ride. I think, like, if you go into it expecting to be an action series, I don't think this is going to be an action series at all, which I'm personally glad about. I think the things they've already done with Momo and the dude whose name I'm going to keep forgetting because his name is not something memorable, and Momo is just like, you know, Avatar Momo and One Piece Momo. There's so many Momos. So, Momo I remember, the other one I don't. And then this freaking cat, which is apparently going to be like a weird granny demon now. Glorious. I don't know how they pull it off, but to have that sense of seriousness and touching moments in between all of this craziness and shenanigans, I love it. Outside of that, the music is great. Like, the way they pace the entire episode with music is also really, really good. Like, it feels almost like a... Not quite like a Saturday morning cartoon, but it feels very, very well paced in every sense of the word, right? It's not like just sort of episode, the A block and the B block, right? Way back, like, in 2012, 2013, a lot of anime followed the A block, B block, because they were just being broadcast, right? This is absolutely not that. Like, this episode just has... Not this episode, the series just has very clear peaks and valleys, and I think it is paced incredibly well. There are random chase sequences, random bits of intensity, then there are off moments, and then when they finally... Because I think it really goes, like, up and down really, really quickly, and that's, again, what makes it hit, right? Like, this series is all about contrast. They will contrast a dude losing his balls, and then them, like, being incredibly insecure and just wanting a friend. Then there'll be a, oh, now we're in this conflict, and now he comes running to her and screaming at the top of his lungs that everything is bad, and then there's a pseudo chase scene, and then a girl gets whacked in the face with a weird iron bucket thing. It's all about contrast, and that is what this series does the best. And it does that in so many different ways, with music, with the way the episode is paced, even with the animation in certain ways. I think they, the animation is gorgeous for this, by the way. It has that, like, that simplistic Mob Psycho vibe, and I love it. It looks excellent. The one thing that I do kind of wish is that it does lean more into the, like, the initial premise that was promised of them sort of exploring places together and stuff like that, right? Because I think that could be another sort of external thing to really push their characters forward. Because if we keep circling around this sort of, are we friends, are we not friends, I can see that getting a little bit old, but so far, that is not old at all. And I get we're only 5 episodes in, but I think, like, the way the characters have been set up has been really, really strong. Another, like, small criticism for now, again, we're 5 episodes in. The world feels weirdly small in this series, right? You might hear my roof almost being blown off because there's a storm outside right now. But, the world feels weirdly small, because, like, really there are only 3 recurring characters, right? Like, now there's a 4th. The cast feels really, really small, and I don't know if I should be expecting anything more, or will this series actually be, like, laser focus on just them? Because we've seen the school, we've seen, like, some of the other conflicts we've gotten into, but outside of the granny and the other granny and the 2 of them, it feels like we're weirdly boxed in, even though there seems to be so much room for, again, like, the weird alien shenanigans and whatnot, right? I'm sort of expecting more recurring characters to pop up. I thought the girl with the pink hair would be one, because her introduction seemed to be, like, very purposeful, and I'm inclined to believe that she will be a recurring character, but I don't know. I think she will be, because she's the only character that stood out in this episode, right? In terms of, like, all the other extras, but who knows. Also, another thing, Netflix is doing subs and dubs at the same time. Being the anime connoisseur that I am, I watched both. The dub for this is excellent. It's actually funny. I watched bits and pieces of this episode, and now I went back and watched the other ones. The dub for this one is actually really, really good. There are not really any differences that I notice right from the get-go that are sort of jarring between the Japanese and the English. So this seems to be closer to like an Attack on Titan in terms of dubs. I was worried that a lot of the humor wouldn't really land, but this might also be one of those situations where listening to the Japanese and reading the subtitles kind of takes away from the humor actually hitting, right? Because, again, this series is a lot about timing, and the way certain phrases are blurted out, the way certain phrases are actually cut off and not actually completed, stuff like that. I think that's where the dub actually shines, as opposed to the sub, because, you know, I don't know Japanese, unfortunately. I've tried learning it. It doesn't work. So, I think both are great. Not to say one is better than the other, because I don't really have a strong preference, but both are really, really good so far. I think that's basically all I wanted to say. That's my short ramble on it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I never expected to enjoy it this much, but this is one that is actually, like, high up there on my, I want to watch as soon as it comes out, right? Like, I'm not losing interest in this one at all. And I think the backbone of this series is Momo and the dude. It's not really the premise. It's not really the universe. It is generally just their dynamic and the way they bounce off of each other. So that is a testament, I think, for how strong even these first couple of episodes are. Because usually it's like, what? There is an interesting premise and it immediately goes downhill. This is not the case. I think, if anything, it's going to get stronger and stronger. And if we get like more characters, more world building, more antagonists, more everything, it's just going to get better and better as time goes on. So I really hope that it like sees the whole manga through. I still think the manga is actually ongoing, but I hope to see this continue for a long, long time. Right now I'm having fun. I think this is the best anime basically on right now. Unless I'm missing something very big, which I don't think I am. But yes, that's my rant about the Dandadan. Completely unscripted, zero notes, so I didn't probably repeat the same thing 10 times. I definitely did not. Alright, that's the end of my rant. If you want to see more of my random rants, tell me. I'm glad to rant off script. Bye.